Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to chat about the enemies to lovers trope. If you want to know more enemies to lovers book recommendations or want to learn more about what enemies to lovers is, stay tuned because we're going to figure that all out today. If you stick around to the end, you'll find out what my favorite enemies to lovers book on this list is. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps my channel grow and it helps me reach more followers who love books. So thanks so much for being here. My name is Steph and today we're going to chat about books. Enemies to lovers is basically what it sounds like. We have two people who kind of start off on opposing sides and then end up falling in love along the way. Classic example of enemies to lovers would be something like Pride and Prejudice, where the two start out very frigid and icy towards each other, and slowly as they get to know more about each other, icy feelings begin to thaw into something of a more romantic nature. Another more modern example of this would be The Hating Game. This is a super popular, trendy book. It's been around for the last several years. It's been turned into a movie, and it is very widely appreciated and loved by the majority of romance readers. This is the kind of thing we're going to be seeing in today's video. So my first recommendation for you is Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. If you like You've Got Mail, mistaken identity, kind of unknown identity, pen pal kind of situation, this story takes place in a publishing house. There's someone new in charge and the two of them butt heads. Our main female character who's been working there for a while and the guy who's kind of taking over and in charge of supervising her portion of the publishing house. They very much butt heads, don't see eye to eye. There is this manuscript she's been working on that she leaves at her desk, and one day she comes back to her desk to find there are notes on it made by someone other than herself. She is like completely put off by this. Then she starts to read this feedback and she finds it's both helpful and informative as well as supportive, and she begins to form this relationship with this mysterious person who's giving her feedback on her manuscript that she's creating. We see office dynamics, we see different changes with relationships and moving forward past relationships, and it's an entertaining, fun story. I love the cover of this book, and this is a book you cannot go wrong with if you're looking for a good enemies to lovers book recommendation. Another fantastic contemporary romance is The Enemy by Sarah Adams. This is the second part of a duology, but you can totally read this as a standalone. This is the story of June, who had a thing for this guy she grew up with. They had this kiss on like graduation day, and then he kind of disappeared, left town, followed his career, and kind of has been MIA ever since. She's there supporting her best friend for her wedding, and she finds out that the guy who kind of ghosted her and kind of skipped town is not only back in town, but he is the best man for this wedding. Constantly just getting on each other's nerves, but forced into supporting their friends for this wedding celebration. So we get to see how the two start to kind of fill in the gaps of this time that they've missed in each other's lives, the things that have shaped them into the adults they have become while they've been apart from each other. It's such a good book, such great banter, tension, chemistry between these characters is just phenomenal. I've read this more than once and I can't say enough good things about it. So definitely check out this book if you are interested. Now, if you are a Regency romance fan, so if you like stories set in like Jane Austen time period, Bridgerton time period, then this is a story for you. This is A Game of Hearts by Joanna Barker. This is amazing. I just have to say it's phenomenal. Right off the bat, you get this tension between these two characters who've grown up in this small town together. This definitely gives me Emma vibes. If you've seen Jane Austen's Emma, any of the movies, we have the archery component featured a little bit in Emma. Think of the Gwen Paltrow poster. We also have two people who've grown up kind of side by side in this area where there aren't a ton of people. So they've known each other, they've seen their ups and their downs, their good and their bad moments. They've also been competing in the same sport, but he's taken more seriously because he's a man and she's a woman. And we get to see how this dynamic comes into play as they're forced into each other's company. She's trying to build up a society of female archers to be taken seriously in competitions that are coming up. We have a moment in the middle of the story where things start to change between them due to unforeseen, unexpected circumstances. There's also a gentleman who's showing some interest in courting her. So great tension, great romance. Literally could not put this book down at all. I loved it. It was phenomenal. If you love enemies to lovers, you need to read this book. Another unique enemies to lovers story which has to be included on this list is Lakeshire Park by Megan Walker. She is a phenomenal writer. This is her debut. Her second story is coming out next month, in a couple months from now. It's coming out soon. She has this unique kind of setting where there's this house party. A whole bunch of people are interested in the eligible gentleman who is hosting the house party. Our main male and female character both have a younger sister who is interested in this eligible gentleman. She already has her mind made up that he is trying to set them up for failure, and she just wants nothing to do with him. I also have like a grumpy sunshine component in here, which will be another recommendation video for another day because it's another phenomenal trope. We see these two characters go head to head on a number of occasions because both of these main characters want their younger sibling to be happy, want their younger sister to find love and happiness, and both of their sisters believe that that's going to be with this eligible gentleman who is hosting the house party. So we have this dilemma while these two are at odds with one another, trying to each make their sister look the best. And you also see this tension between them starts to simmer into something else more romantic. So this is a fantastic enemies to lovers story. Definitely one that is worth checking out if you are interested in Regency romance. And honestly, you can't go wrong with anything this author writes. She is phenomenal. So definitely check this book out. Another popular contemporary romance in this genre is Well Met. I just adore this story. I believe this has one open door scene if my memory is serving me correctly, but lots of fun. This takes place at the Renaissance Fair. This has been around for a few years. The fourth book in this series just came out a few months ago, but I would be remiss if I did not include it on this list. It is a fantastic grumpy sunshine enemies to lovers where the two are butting heads. He teaches English at the local high school, and she is new to town, helping her sister take care of her niece while her sister recovers from a car accident. So she's there as the parental volunteer. She ends up being a part of the Renaissance Fair. Her niece is a part of it in another capacity elsewhere in the Ren Fair. She thinks his attitude isn't so great. He thinks that she's not gung-ho enough about this Renaissance Fair. So these two, between the process of rehearsals, deciding what everybody's going to be, what role they're going to have in the Ren Fair, and then kind of seeing their roles when they get to dress up and play a different character in the Ren Fair versus who they are in real life. It just is fantastic dynamics, very entertaining and lots of fun, and lots of enemies to lovers tension, which just makes it so much fun to read about. So definitely something worth checking out if you like enemies to lovers. All right, second to last book. This is the Saturday Night Supper Club. This was a super unique story. Main female character is part of a restaurant business, and she ends up being kind of trashed by a local columnist newspaper because of something to do with her restaurant at the beginning of the story. She ends up in a confrontation with him early on in the book and says, "Why did you do that?" He basically apologizes, didn't really intend for someone else to read it and publish it. "Why don't I make it up to you by allowing you to come over and host dinner parties at my home?" He's got this fancy kitchen and they have elite parties with about 12 people, sit-down dinners. It's an exclusive party where people can have high-quality food, high-quality service, and he can introduce her to well-connected, well-networked people who can then help her with her career moving forward. We see this great process of healing and forgiveness, but also a really, really great romance. Also have a great female friendship group. There are 3 female friends in here. This is the first of those 3 books, and they're just very entertaining, and I love the way that these women support one another, boost one another up when they're having a tough day, come together, they share love of food, and they kind of support one another and sit down with one another over food as well. But great enemies to lovers, very enjoyable, very entertaining, very sweet, and something I'm really glad that I checked out. So last but not least, I told you if you stuck around to the last recommendation, you'd find out my favorite on this list. I love these books. There's so many good ones. But one that I have reread time and time again, and it just always hits me in a good spot, is Friends and Foes by Sarah Eden. This is another house party story, Regency romance. We have Philip, the oldest of 7 brothers, attends this party with his family, and there are a couple other guests, one of which is Sorrel. Sorrel is the oldest sibling in her family of 3. She is very stubborn, kind of hard-headed. Philip has a secret. He's been spying for England to help with the war against France. In order to cover that secret identity, he acts very shallow. Like all he cares about is how he appears to look, more so than what's beneath the surface. And she just absolutely can't stand him. I love the disability rep in here as well as the great tension. And very early on during this house party, the 2 of them decide, well, if they can't get along, they're going to declare war on each other. It's an entertaining story, a great family story, and the beginning of a fantastic series. There is a prequel that is also phenomenal in this series. Great example of enemies to lovers, and probably the one that spurred on my love for enemies to lovers. Since it's been a while since I first read it, loved it, have reread it, and it made me want to find more enemies to lovers stories out there. So that wraps up this list. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any that you would add to this list, definitely let me know that in the comments. If you're interested in a part 2, I'll be honest, there's so many enemies to lovers books out there, and there's so many great book recommendations in this category. I could make a part 2 video, so if you're interested in that, let me know. This is going to be the first of my Trope Tuesday series. It's going to be a new series that I'm starting, and you'll see trope recommendation videos on different Tuesdays of the month. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to have one every Tuesday or every other. We'll see. But I'm excited to share with you these books and these stories and more tropes in the future. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.